Greetings, everyone. Pastor Chris here. It's hard to believe it's almost been a year since you guys called me to be your lead pastor, and close to 11 months since I was installed. And one of the things that I promised and one of the things that I committed to along with the leadership of Bethel is that we would have a strategic plan. And it's taken close to the full year to get everything in place. You know, back in April, we introduced kind of the basic framework of our strategic plan, our goals and objectives. We've been spending the last 5-6 months getting more specific with those, and now we're at the point now where we can say these are our goals, this is our ministry plan, our strategic plan for the rest of 2023 and into 2024 around the two objectives and the three goals that we've established as a congregation. So you're going to have, if you're at church Sunday, or you'll have an opportunity, if you just click on the link right below this video, to download a document that's a 2-page document. On one page is just a summary document. It has our mission, our vision, our core attitudes as Bethel. It also has our two objectives, which are to increase spiritual growth among current members and make disciples, and our second one being engage and connect communities to share Christ and build relationships. And then under that, we have 3 goals, specific goals, to develop faith formation process for growth from initial contact to fully engaged disciples, to develop a plan to increase the stewardship of Bethel's assets and facilities to support the growth of our ministries and our communities, and then finally to create communities targeting faith formation opportunities for young families, young adults, and youth. And we've had 2 ministry teams that have been formed around those 3 areas, those 3 goals. And the back page of this, I'm not going to read all this for you, is an update on where we are. And each of those 3 areas is summarized as to what we have done, what we are doing, and what will be done. And what we mean by what will be done, the plan is what will be done by the end of 2024. And if you look at this document, a lot of these have specific dates in mind. If not, the understanding is they will be done by then. And also, even as you notice, walking into the church and things like that, the mission wall is getting finished. A lot of these things we've already done. The current sermon series we're on right now, where we're teaching on faith formation and discipleship, is a reaction to that. The upcoming combined faith formation hour from 12 to 1 is the reaction. So as you read through this, you're going to actually see Bethel's already done a lot of this. And then not only have they done a lot of this, they're in the process of doing a lot of this, and some of these are yet still to be done. So let me touch then on our current sermon series. Because one of the things that we made a commitment to do as a leadership this year, Bethel's always kind of done things a little bit backwards, in that we've always had a stewardship campaign, ask you to pledge your support to Bethel, both your time, talent, and your anticipated giving, and then we give you a strategic plan and ask you to vote on that. This year, we were intentional about saying, this is our plan, this is the ministry. We're going to tell you right now on this Sunday when we do the update, we're going to tell you what we think this is going to cost. So the anticipated expenses for next year. And then this allows people to give in response to that. Now, an important thing to remember here is when you give, you're not giving to Bethel. Ultimately, we give to God. But as we've been looking at what does it mean to follow Jesus, and we've been looking at Peter as an example of that, and we looked at the very beginning, and it begins with an invitation, and then from that invitation is a belief, and and that belief sometimes leads to a crisis, and there's a crisis where we say, is it worth it? There was a crisis for the bigger group of disciples that said, hey, this is hard, we're not going to follow you anymore. And then Peter responded in belief and in faith. And then even a crisis for Peter himself when he denied Jesus 3 times. But then out of that crisis came a commitment. Now, Jesus never wavered in his commitment to Peter. And as we're going to see in the sermon this Sunday, he was reinstated. He was given a new directive from Jesus. And he made his commitment to follow Jesus. And then as we're going to look at here in a couple of weeks after our 70th anniversary celebration, part of following Jesus is counting the cost. What does it mean to count the cost of following Jesus? And one of the things we learned is that following Jesus is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. So I want each of us to challenge ourselves this year. You're going to get your pledge cards this Sunday in response to the ministry plan that we've already outlined for you. We ask that these be turned in by the 15th so that we can see if we meet our goal. And in order to meet our goal, in order to meet our ministry goal, in order to meet our giving goal, some of us, all of us, are going to have to count the cost. Can we up our giving to Bethel? Can we squeeze out one less meal out a month, or whatever that might look like, to challenge ourselves, to make it hard, to say, hey, we realize that the work that Jesus has called us to do as we grow in our own faith, and one of the things we're going to be doing in the next year is helping each person at Bethel outline their own faith formation journey and where they are and what is that. But right now it begins with, how can we challenge ourselves to give a little bit more financially, to give a little bit more of our time? So in our pledge card this year, it reflects that. It says count the cost. It says that we're going to challenge ourselves to count the cost, both in our financial resources and in our time. In our time around the 4 areas of Bethel that we have, which is worship, grow, care, and serve. And as you're going to see once we finish the new mission and ministry wall, we're going to be much more intentional about how we communicate those opportunities here at Bethel. It's been a heck of a year, friends. I'm honored to serve you as your pastor, and I'm excited about what's coming up next weekend as we get to celebrate 70 years of God's grace. But I'm also excited that we're a church that's saying we're not going to settle with just 70 years. We're going to move forward and say, what does it look like for this next season of ministry at Bethel as we boldly follow Jesus? Amen.